Hey guys, my name is Sanjay and welcome to the Engineer Wannabe YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Rolex Submariner. Now this is a watch lent in once again by my friend Marcus. Thank you Marcus for being so generous, for sharing your collection with me. I believe this is the last one in his collection, at least for the time being, and I'm very grateful for his generosity. Couple of quick things before we get started on this review. My wristwatch check is the Omega Planet Ocean 39.5. I think we'll be comparing these two a little later on in the video. Second thing is that you are infinitely valuable. You really are. You are precious and you're worth it. And I hope you know that. I hope you know that you matter and that a great price has been paid for you. Thirdly, this video has been sponsored very kindly by Extra wallets. I've actually been using Extra wallets for over a year now, and they wanted to sponsor this video, so thank you Extra. All right guys, so let's get started on this review. So this, as we had mentioned, is the Rolex Submariner Cermet, the 126610 LV, the green on black, which does seem very nice. It's fitting. It's a beautiful look, I think, and I really enjoy it. But let's get started on the dimensions. So Rolex touts this as a 41mm watch, and it's really hard for me to get that measurement. Maybe if I really get close to that crown guard there and measure it this way, I do get 41. But for the most part, I do seem to get 40.5 to 40 on the dot, really. So I'm just going to say it's a 40mm watch. It is 12.5mm thick. We have to talk about the thickness a little bit. The lug to lug is 47.5, and end link to end link is 51. So it's a long watch, considering its diameter dimension. And that thickness that I was talking about is really interesting because the actual belt line of the watch, so this part, this slab side, so to speak, is only 6mm thick. It is shockingly thin, and it feels really thin on the wrist. I was a little surprised to read 12.8 or 12.5 on my calipers, but the effective thickness really is a combination of just this tiny 6mm appearance on the wrist. And it's interesting how Rolex has contoured or shaped this case to sink into the wrist. There are multiple steps. Even there's this conical part and then another case back part. I'm guessing this whole thing is the case back, and this is just the part where the tool attaches onto. But the way that it's stepped, so there's multiple steps here if you consider the bezel, the case belt line, and the case back, and the case back has two additional steps. It just wears incredibly thin. It does not feel like a 12.5mm watch. As you can tell, my friend Marcus has been wearing this watch, and it does age. So I know some people don't like aging. Other people want watches to age, like the ghost bezel and stuff. I've got a few comments on the last Rolex video. The bracelet is really nice, very comfortable. The links are kind of long, but there is a articulation. The drape of it is actually really quite good, and because of that, I think it isn't overbearing. But the links are significantly longer than, say, the Planet Ocean links there, which are quite short. But even with other watch bracelets like the Grand Seiko bracelets that I've been showcasing, at the start of the show is the clasp, of course. You can see that the swing arm folds in on itself. There's no air or exposed gap, which makes it look really sophisticated. And I suppose that adds a little bit of thickness to the swing arm itself, but it's very negligible. You have a spring-loaded hooking system, a beak, hook and a beak thing, I think is what Tim also calls it. But there's this spring-loaded system here. So it's not just a press fit, even though it feels like a press fit, but extremely satisfying to use. And then you have the fold-over clasp there, to security clasp on-the-fly adjustment is the impressive part here. So you have about 20 millimeters of adjustment here in the glide lock. I wish Rolex would put this clasp on the GMT Master 2. I'm sure there's a reason why they don't, but it just makes sense to be able to have this range of adjustment. It's really quite incredible. And the way that the clasp does not lose its personality towards the end of that section. The clasp doesn't lose its personality. There's no solid piece or something that impedes the look of the watch, whether you're in the middle of summer and it's fully extended, or on a dive or something and it's fully extended. People go on dives, right? Or if it is in the middle of winter and it's fully retracted, the personality of the watch does not change. And I can't say that's the case for a lot of clasps. A lot of on-the-fly adjustment clasps do change personality. I'll take this for example. Maybe we can swing into the Omega comparison, but there's a difference here. It's not the same as the rest of the bracelet. And the on the fly adjustment, even at the end there, it looks it looks pretty bad. It's okay, but and the adjustment is just atrocious. This is the 39.5 mil version, so the clasp is a bit shorter, but I mean, this is almost laughable. It's only for comfort during the day, maybe. You're still going to have to add or remove a link in the summer or winter if you wear your watches snug, but this is just for daily deviation probably. But it's almost laughable, this adjustment. The bigger 44 mil version has a bit more range, but definitely not to the extent of 20 millimeters here. So but before we keep going, I just want to quickly shout out Extra. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. As I said earlier, I've been using their products for over a year now. They've been sponsoring me, a small channel, for some reason, and I'm very grateful. So they've been sending these free products over to me. I'm a leather guy, and I as you can see, I've used this so aggressively, and it looks gorgeous. I love the way this leather ages. They sent this card holder. Again, it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful shade of lavender or purple, and I'm not normally a fan of stepping away from leather, but I really had to because of how beautiful this is. Extra, thank you for sponsoring this video. If you guys want to help out the channel, help me out, forget the channel. You can use the code EW2023 to get a discount on whatever you purchase. Absolutely beautiful. This is the Astral colorway, by the way, and it's an aluminum or aluminum wallet card holder. They have other types, but it's just so beautiful. Anyway, back to the video, back to the comparison. Let's talk about some of the differences here. I think Omega runs away with it when it comes to case complexity and finishing. But at the same time, there are reports of Rolex actually hand finishing these cases, which I think adds a bit of clout to this watch. The fact that this is hand polished is more impressive, or the case itself is hand finished is more impressive than what is likely mechanically finished here, even though the complexity is greater on the Omega. In terms of tech, I think Omega runs away with it as well. You've got a coaxial movement here. There's no need for lubrication on this escapement. There are multiple impulses on that escapement, and it's a cool piece of tech. Of course, you got a silicon hairspring, which means that it's anti-magnetic. Rolex has an anti-magnetic hairspring as well. It's a alloy called Parachrome Blue, if I'm not mistaken. So technically, I think Omega is still more impressive. Rolex is not a slouch. Omega has a METAS certification, which is not just accuracy, but accuracy-wise, it's +5 to -3 seconds per day. Rolex accuracy trumps Omega's accuracy here with -2 +2 superlative chronometer. That's Rolex's in-house certification going on. Of course, the bracelet, we talked about the clasp. The Rolex clasp is far superior to the Omega clasp here. The adjustability is so much greater. The fact that Rolex put thought into the clasp personality, again, I'm going to use that word, but the personality not changing throughout the range of adjustment is also very impressive. Dive capability of the Omega is greater, but neither of these watches are really going down to 300 meters or 600 meters. So that might be a moot point, but hey, bragging rights, I guess. So I mean, in the end, there's a more wearable watch, Omega, for a smaller wrist. The Rolex on my wrist, I think it's manageable. I might eventually. No, I probably wouldn't, but it's manageable on my wrist. I don't think it looks great, but I kind of wish it did, because it's such a great watch. But overall, I'd like to say that the Rolex is a better product in its entirety. There are aspects of the Omega that are superior. The Omega is the better watch for me. 100%. This is better for me. So just because I think in a semi-objective way the Rolex might be better, the Omega in a subjective way, and it might be the case for you as well, could be the better watch for you. But the Rolex, semi-objectively, I think it's a better product. It's a more luxurious product. Whereas with Omega, there's more of an that'll do kind of attitude to it. You know, like that adjustment system. It'll do. But Rolex, I think, has gone to the nth degree, in a sense, to make sure something is as well thought out as possible. So I think overall, this is probably the better product. One thing I didn't mention is the male center end link. Sorry, the male end link. It integrates with the lug so perfectly. Of course, there's a little bit of an extension over the lugs, but the shape and everything is just right. And I think there's a bit of a design disconnect, alliteration, when you have this female end link. You know, the end link is not quite fitting in there, and it doesn't quite passable. It's okay, but that's the thing. It's okay, and it's the head doesn't quite fit the rest of the watch. The bracelet. Here it just looks perfectly integrated. The bezel action is incredible. Let me see if you can hear this. And the sound is great, but the haptic feedback, the feedback to your fingers, I think is the part that you don't get as much. And I think that's really, really nice. This is almost a joke in comparison. Because it sounds similar, right? Not the same, but it sounds similar. But this just feels, in comparison, it feels loose and rattly to your fingers. Like what you feel at your fingertips. Here is solid and bulletproof. But to the microphone, you might not see that much of a difference or hear that much of a difference. There is a difference, don't get me wrong, but the feeling on your fingertips is just worlds apart between the two, just worlds apart. All right, guys, I've rambled on for far too long here. So I am a huge fan of the Rolex Submariner. I really am. There's a reason why this is probably the most faked watch, the most copied watch. Everyone gains inspiration from this watch, I guess. And it's a great watch, a well put together watch. So let me know what you think, guys. I really appreciate you all. Thank you to Extra again for sponsoring this video. Take care, everyone. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, you're infinitely valuable. Bye, guys.